ever imagined living in a town where almost everyone lives in the same building? Or where the main street used to be lined with brothels? Sounds absurd, right? But in Alaska, things like this are actually real. This snow-covered land isn't just about polar bears and auroras. It's also home to some of the strangest small towns you'll ever hear about. Some are eerie, some hilarious. All of them are totally weird. So, if you're curious which towns made the list, get ready. We're diving into the 15 weirdest towns in Alaska. The only question is, which one will freak you out the most? Let's start with a town whose name alone makes people smile. Chicken. The story goes that the original settlers wanted to name the town ptarmigan, a bird native to Alaska, but no one could agree on how to spell it, so they settled on chicken instead. The result? A real town name that sounds more like a punchline than something you'd find on a map. With a year-round population of just a dozen or so, Chicken feels like an outpost on the edge of the world. Electricity comes from generators, and in the winter, the town nearly freezes over into total silence. To top it off, Chicken hosts an annual event called the Chickenstock Music Festival, featuring giant metal chicken sculptures as town icons. It's bizarre, brilliant, and completely Alaska. Next up is McCarthy, a tiny town tucked deep inside Wrangell St. Elias National Park, the largest national park in the US. Fewer than 10 people live here year-round. Getting there? Not easy. It used to involve driving a long dirt road and crossing a narrow suspension bridge over a wild river. But what makes McCarthy really weird isn't just how remote it is, it's the eerie vibe. The town once thrived in the early 1900s thanks to the Kennecott copper mine. When the mine shut down in 1938, McCarthy was nearly abandoned. Today, it feels like a ghost town that never actually died. It also has a dark past. Back in 1983, a local man murdered 6 people in one day. The tragedy cemented McCarthy's reputation as a town with a mysterious and dangerous edge. And then there's Whittier, which feels like a full-blown social experiment at the edge of the earth. Imagine living in a town where nearly everyone resides in one single building, a massive structure called Begich Towers. Inside, you'll find everything: a school, post office, church, convenience store, you name it. In the dead of winter, most people don't even step outside. You could live your life indoors for days on end. Whittier was originally built as a military base during World War II, and to this day, it's accessible by only one narrow one-way tunnel through the mountains. On one hand, the all-in-one setup seems practical, especially when the snow piles up. But on the other hand, living in a town where everyone is your hallway neighbor, that's a little weird. Privacy, minimal. Gossip, immediate. The vibe, like living in a lifelong dorm room. If Whittier feels like a social experiment inside a giant building, Talkeetna is the complete opposite. A small town bursting with color, personality, and a whole lot of weird. With a population of just around 1,000, Talkeetna is known as the gateway to Denali, North America's tallest mountain. But what lands this place on our weirdest towns list isn't just its location, it's the town's humor and quirky traditions. Case in point, Talkeetna once had a cat as its mayor. Yes, a real orange cat named Stubbs, who held the symbolic title for nearly 20 years. He roamed the local general store like a boss and became a beloved icon of the town. Talkeetna is also known for its wacky festivals, like the Moose Dropping Festival, where people drop fake moose poop from above as part of a big lottery and celebration. Strange? Absolutely, and that's exactly the point. Next, we head to Skagway, a tiny town in southeast Alaska that looks charming at first glance, with its old-timey wooden buildings styled after the Klondike Gold Rush era. But behind that postcard-perfect exterior lies a weird and wild history. In the late 1890s, Skagway was the chaotic gateway for thousands of gold seekers. It was a lawless place, ruled, at one point, by a notorious con artist and gangster named Soapy Smith, who ran the town like a criminal empire. Skagway was basically the Wild West of the far north. Today, with just about 1,000 residents, the town survives on cruise ships and historical tourism. But the vibe? It's still half-living museum, half actual town. And that strange blend gives Skagway its spot on this list. Then there's Hope, a tiny town perched along the shores of Turnagain Arm. Once one of Alaska's oldest gold rush settlements, Hope now has a population of just 118 people. And yet, stepping into Hope feels like entering a preserved slice of history. Original wooden buildings from the late 1800s are still in use, some as cozy cafes, others as small museums. But what makes Hope truly weird is the contrast. This used to be a booming mining hub, and now it's a sleepy village filled with artists, fishermen, and people who just wanted to escape modern life. Hope also hosts its own kind of quirky event, the Hope Social Club Music Festival, a laid-back gathering on a grassy field, complete with a makeshift stage and all the soulful weirdness you'd expect from a town like this. Nicknamed the halibut fishing capital of the world, Homer is weird in all the right ways, and not just because of the giant fish. This town of about 6,000 people features a stunning and strange landscape. A skinny, 4.5-mile-long strip of land called the Homer Spit, lined with rickety boardwalks, quirky shops, and offbeat wooden homes. Homer also has a strong artistic soul. The town is full of galleries and roadside art installations that feel more Portland than Alaska. In the summer, Homer transforms into a melting pot of fishermen, backpackers, bohemian artists, and street musicians, equal parts maritime and magical. If Homer is loud and full of life, Gustavus is its quiet, mysterious cousin. This tiny town of around 600 people serves as the gateway to Glacier Bay National Park, but it feels more like a secret village tucked at the edge of the world. There's no major road connecting Gustavus to the outside. Access is only by small plane or ferry. Weirdly enough, this sleepy town even has its own airport, almost like it's more prepared for tourists than locals. Life here moves slowly. There's one general store that doubles as the town's gossip hub, and small-town festivals like the 4th of July Extravaganza or the Harvest Festival celebrate the fleeting Alaskan summer in quirky, homespun fashion. Seldovia has fewer than 300 residents, but its weirdness easily earns it a spot on this list. Once nicknamed the clam capital of the world, the town lost that title when the 1964 earthquake literally lifted the coastline, wiping out the clam beds. The nickname stuck, awkwardly. Even weirder, Seldovia is almost completely cut off from Alaska's road system. You can't drive there. You have to fly in or take a ferry. The homes here often sit on wooden stilts over the water, connected by a maze of narrow boardwalks that feel like something out of a fantasy novel. When the town throws an art festival or community event, it feels like a mashup of old-school fishermen and a bohemian outpost, equal parts rustic and rebellious. Ketchikan will leave you scratching your head with its title as the rain capital of Alaska. Imagine living in a town where it rains over 230 days a year. Thick fog, slippery streets, and gray skies are part of daily life. In Ketchikan, umbrellas aren't just accessories. They're basically part of the local identity. With a population of around 8,000, Ketchikan also boasts another unique claim. It's home to the world's largest collection of totem poles, which stand tall in parks and forest clearings across town. But the real kicker? Creek Street, a twisting boardwalk perched above the creek that used to be a bustling red light district. Back in the day, men would quietly paddle up in boats to seek entertainment behind rain-soaked curtains. Today, it's a charming tourist area filled with shops and galleries, but you can still feel echoes of its colorful past. After the relentless drizzle of Ketchikan, we move to a place that might just be the most misunderstood town in Alaska. North Pole. No, it's not the real North Pole. It's a town of about 2,000 people that was quite literally built on Christmas imagination. This place runs full tilt on festive spirit. There's the Santa Claus house, a giant store decked out in red and green all year, featuring a towering Santa statue. Streets have names like Kris Kringle Drive and Snowman Lane, and come December, the town's post office gets thousands of letters from kids around the world, all addressed to Santa. What makes it even weirder? Some residents keep their Christmas lights up even in July. In North Pole, it's basically Christmas Eve. 365 days a year, making it one of the most bizarrely festive towns in Alaska. If the North Pole is weird for living in a permanent Christmas fantasy, then Ninilchik is strange for something completely different. It feels like a slice of 19th century Russia got lost in Alaska. This small village on the Kenai Peninsula, home to around 800 people, is known for its stunning Russian Orthodox church, perched on a hilltop with classic onion domes painted white and blue. What's even more fascinating is that many families here are direct descendants of early Russian settlers, and some of their language, food, and traditions have survived through the generations. Sure, Ninilchik is also known for its halibut and salmon fishing festivals, but there's always this underlying old world vibe, like time slowed down and forgot to modernize the place. It doesn't feel quite like anywhere else in Alaska or America. From the old Russian echoes of Ninilchik, we now head to the northernmost town in the United States, Utqiaġvik, formerly known as Barrow. With a population of around 4,000, this town earns its weird status thanks to some of the strangest natural phenomena on Earth. In the winter, the sun doesn't rise at all for 65 days, plunging the entire town into constant darkness. Then in the summer, the opposite happens. The sun never sets for over 2 months, creating a surreal, endless daylight that completely throws off human sleep cycles. On top of that, Utqiaġvik is home to a strong Inupiat community where traditional bowhead whale hunting is still practiced. It's an ancient custom that might feel extreme to outsiders, but here it's a way of life, a blend of survival and cultural pride in the most unforgiving part of Alaska. From the sunless north, we fly southeast to Yakutat, a tiny town with fewer than 700 residents. Yet it spans an area larger than some US states. And here's the twist. Yakutat is known as Alaska's surfing capital. That's right. In a land of glaciers and freezing winds, there's a beach that draws surfers from around the world. It's a strange but fascinating sight. People riding waves with snow-capped peaks and massive icebergs in the background. Yakutat also sits in the shadow of Mount St. Elias, the second highest peak in North America. As for getting there, there are no roads in or out. Yakutat is only accessible by plane or boat, which just adds to the feeling that this town isn't quite real. Finally, we arrive at Valdez, often called the Switzerland of Alaska for its dramatic snow-covered mountains. But what lands Valdez on this list isn't just the postcard-perfect scenery, it's the town's wild, disaster-laced history. In 1964, the original town was completely destroyed by a 9.2 magnitude earthquake, one of the most powerful ever recorded. Residents had to relocate the entire town to safer ground. Then, in 1989, Valdez was at the center of the infamous Exxon Valdez oil spill, one of the worst environmental disasters in US history. And, ironically, despite all that, Valdez is also the endpoint of the Trans-Alaska Pipeline, making it a vital hub for the state's energy infrastructure. It's a town of contrasts, beautiful and tragic, remote and important, serene and historically chaotic. A perfectly weird note to end on.